alas, alas to those that die with their song still inside them. In other words, we all have a song inside us, and many of us are afraid to sing, either because our parents or educators or society has pressured us to fit into their mold instead of our own. So you can live your whole life and never sing your song. That's the greatest risk of all. You've never been who you should have been. You never actualized your potential. There's no such thing as success without the possibility for failure. When your child begins to walk, that child will fall. Any parent that says, I don't want my child to fall, I'm not going to let that child walk, or I'll hold the child when they start walking, will never allow their child to walk. You have to let them walk. You're there for them. You say, I'm here to pick you up. I'm here to support you. But every walk has to begin with falling at least once or twice or 3 times. Sometimes the challenges of life that we think we're struggling through are actually the things that give us the strength to fly. Pressure in life is critical. If you're comfortable, what's going to motivate you to move? I meet people and I say, you're too comfortable. If you're very comfortable, God bless you. I would love to say that a person who's in a painful situation should have an epiphany or something. They suddenly see the light and they say, this is not acceptable. But if someone's been breathing toxic air for years, they get used to it, to the point they'll say, it's not so bad. You know, they're living in darkness. I got used to it. It's not so bad. Unfortunately, in many cases, it comes through something where you finally hit rock bottom, as they say. Something really shows you this is not acceptable. But are there exceptions? Of course there are. I've seen people, a moment of grace, or someone they met, or something they saw, and they realized, what am I doing to my life? It's critical to always bring in someone that's been there, someone with experience, because that helps build confidence. I mean, you see this in every area of life, because a lot of times it's lack of confidence is due to lack of experience. So it's good to have a mentor, whether it's a business mentor or a relationship coach, that can help you say, you know what, this resistance you're having is healthy. It's good to, or no, this resistance is just fear and inexperience, and it's time to take a leap. So I think one simple piece of advice that people don't usually follow is find someone you can talk to that's more objective than you. Because our subjectivity blinds us. Sometimes causes too many fears, or sometimes causes us to be reckless and move too quickly. Sometimes you need someone to tell you, you know what, this needs more due diligence, a little more time, do a little more research. Or sometimes, no, you're waiting too long and it's time to make a move. So having someone you can run it by is a vital, vital piece. It's also acknowledging that you don't have it all figured out. And you can't always know. That's part of what risk is about. You know, you can't always know, is the time right or not? Also, to get rid of the concept of perfection. There is no such thing as perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect time. That's just an illusion. It's usually an excuse to procrastinate. You know, perfect time. What does perfect time mean? I'm not going to do it until it's perfect. So then you're never going to do what's good either. So anyone that's successful knows that. They do not wait for perfection. It's an illusion. It's immature, actually. You do everything you can, get objective advice, and then take the leap, and then learn from it. And you know what? If a mistake was made, you learn from the mistake, and you'll become better next time. I don't try to read them the riot act and tell them how bad this is. I try to wake them up the other way around, showing them there's a better alternative. But unfortunately, sometimes recognizing how bad it is what wakes people up. I'll start with the story with myself when I was a child. I remember I was in the summer bungalow colony, my parents, my family, friends, and I had learned to swim. I was a pretty good swimmer in the swimming pool. I would go swimming every day, but then I wanted to dive. I wanted to learn how to dive. And for some strange reason, I would go up on the diving board and I was afraid to jump. I just had this irrational fear. And it wasn't because I was afraid of water. I swam. I knew how to swim. So I remember I used to think to myself, why am I afraid to dive? Okay, I said, maybe the diving board's too high up. Let me dive from the edge of the pool. So I stood that also wouldn't dive. And then you start playing all these games with yourself. Okay, I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. And I count, then you have some excuse, I'll count again. Okay, count from 100 to 1. Count from 1,000 to 1. So a whole summer passed and I never dived. I was afraid to dive. And it was the strangest thing because again, I was saying to myself, what are you afraid of? What's going to happen? Your stomach will split open? They have this thing. Anyway, the next summer, same story. I did the same thing. And then I decided, you know what, I'll try a new trick. Instead of just standing on the edge of the pool, I'll sit and I'll just drop myself in, it's not such a big drop. And even that, for some reason, I just had this crazy fear. And finally, a friend of mine snuck up behind me without me knowing, and he just pushed me in when I was trying this thing. And that was it. I got over my fear. He pushed me in, and I swam, and then I went back, and I dived from the edge of the pool, and then from the diving board. I got over the fear simply because someone pushed me. But I always, as an adult, tried to analyze, what was this? I stood on the ground, that was not a problem. I have no problem being in the water. What was the concern, the fear? Here's my theory. The fear of change, which means standing on the ground, we know how to do. You know how to swim in the water, but that split second, you're not in the water and not on the ground, is the fear, a certain unknown. It's like a suspension. And I realized that we are all concerned, the transition of change is fearful because you're not used to it. It's something new. And we always gravitate to that which was comfortable for us, that which is easy, we're secure with it. But on the other hand, all growth comes only when you change. Because if you stay, like they say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Or I like to put it, if you think what you thought, and you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're going to have, what you had. It's a mathematical certainty because nothing's changed. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. But there's a fear because there is a change of the climate, a change of environment, of atmosphere. And that was it's my own psychological theory. And I think it's critical that people realize that growth is always going to come with some discomfort. And that's where the path of least resistance comes in. I say it always to people. I said, if you're more comfortable in this painful situation, you're going to stay there. It'll only be when it's less comfortable to stay there than to move. So you have to realize that there is that fear, but all growth is going to come from that. I mean, who doesn't have that element? People think, I'm going to stay on the fence, and that way I play safe. Yeah, but you could also end up never accomplishing anything in life. So that's why it's the biggest risk. You end up not going anywhere. So of course, if you start using your mind, there are many reasons not to do things. And if you get stuck in your head, you could end up doing it your whole life and never really fulfilling what you need to fulfill. The big question, of course, is the matrix. Are we living in a matrix that has programmed us? And how do we escape that? I think it's up to us. And my response would be very straightforward. If you see yourself as a machine, then a better machine is going to replace you. If you see yourself as a soul with something transcendent about you, something that's sublime, that can be quantified and in the mechanics of a machine, then machines will be our tools. So I think it's up to us. You have something unique to contribute. You have your unique song. This doesn't mean you have to stand out in the way that disrupts others, but how could you compromise yourself? So it's really helping people build a confidence in what they can do unique. As 8 billion people on this planet, yes, but not two are alike. Life is not quantifiable by numbers. It's not a numbers game. Any person you help, that person has been changed forever. Doesn't matter if there's another billion people or thousands of people. And we have to not lose sight of that. Look, the fact is we live in a world of numbers, in a world of crunching numbers, statistics, analytics. Love is not like a birthday cake where you can only divide it into so many parts. Love is infinite. And my grandmother gave a beautiful example. She said, love is like the sun. and it's reflected in every drop of water, just like in the Pacific Ocean. Every drop has the whole sun in it. My whole love goes to each child. It's not a numbers game. The entire sun is reflected in every drop of water. So my full love is in every child in its own way. So that's something that needs to be, I guess, emphasized in our commoditized, fetishized world.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to support us, you can now get the Not a Journal back in stock, where you can use code JOURNAL to get 10% off at mulliganbrothers.com with the link in the description.